For generations, the people of Humla have believed that all things, living and otherwise, are inhabited by gods, spirits, and the souls of their ancestors. A shaman acts as the bridge between the two worlds. To understand how these traditions have endured, one must first understand the land of Humla itself. Khas Bhasa, from which the Nepali language originated, is still widely spoken here. Roads have connected much of Humla in recent years, including the incredibly isolated Limi Valley in its northern territory. This includes the Nyaulu Pass, Nepal's highest motorable pass at 5,000 meters. Hidden in Nepal's far northwestern reaches, it remains largely disconnected from the rest of the country, which is also why it has maintained a highly distinct culture even amongst Nepal's Himalayan regions. For centuries, Humla stood at the crossroads of two great civilizations. To the south lay many little kingdoms of Nepal that relied heavily on it as Humla controlled the vital salt trade routes from Tibet. To the north, the ancient kingdoms of Western Tibet that shared deep cultural and religious bonds with the high-altitude communities of Humla. These communities, especially in the northern reaches of the district, especially in Limi Valley, are now on the verge of disappearing due to geopolitical, socio-economic, and climate-related reasons. In the once thriving village of Jhang, only 2 residents remain: Karsong and his elder sister, both in their 60s.
Monsoon र Kailash हामीले भिसल हुनु पर्यो घुम्न दिदैन भिसल भयो भने हामीले पैसा धेरै लाग्छ पहिले त हामीले कति घुम्ने चाहिँ कहाँ थियो पास चाहिदैन केही छैन घोडा चढेर पनि हिटेर पनि कति गएछ.
The Karnali region of western Nepal is known as Wild Karnali, and for good reason. The day we traveled from the isolated village of Til to the border town of Hilsa, we walked 15 hours for 30 kilometers at altitudes over 4,000, sometimes 5,000 meters, and did not meet one single person.
You reached the Wild Karnali. हामी बाइक कोही छैन यहाँ हामी मान्छे चाहिँ
This is the same route that the ancestors of the people of Limi took to cross into the Tibetan plateau, where they would trade with towns in Western Tibet. The only few people that come here now come from lower Humla and surrounding districts in search of wild garlic, which fetches high prices in the Chinese market.
सुरुमा चाहिँ जडीबुटी खोज्नु पाइन्छ कि भनेर आउनु भएको थियो
जडीबुटी यतै हुन्छ बढिया भन्नुहुन्छ
लसुन पाएन
वन लसुन ए त्यो टिपेर लाने अनि कहाँ लगेर बेच्ने तलतिर बजारमा ए मुगुबाट आउनुभएको
म गएको छु राराताल के अरे मुरमा गएको छु 5-6 वर्ष अगाडि गएको यसो घुमाउँछ
In much of Humla, there are no tea houses or lodges. One just shows up at a village and hopes the residents are kind enough to offer you shelter and food. Which is what we did. Sometimes we slept at someone's garden inside a tent. Other times we slept beside someone's altar in an old stone house. One of the rarest Tibetan Buddhist artifacts, the four-faced Vairocana statue, is still housed in a monastery in the Limi Valley. Nepal's longest river, the Great Karnali, flows through Humla from its source at Mount Kailash, nearby in Tibet. Revered by 4 major religions as the cosmic center and home of the divine, this sacred mountain and the adjacent lake Mansarovar lie just across the border in Purang County in China's Tibet Autonomous Region. This makes Humla the natural gateway to this holy site, as tens of thousands of pilgrims come here every year.
नेपालको फ्ल्याग भएको उतापट्टि चाहिँ चाइना One. यो त डलर हो
यो डलर तिमीले लिनु
नेपाली दिने ए
During pilgrimage season, helicopters run back and forth all day to transport pilgrims between Simikot and the border town of Hilsa. Before that, they fly from Nepalganj to the airport in Simikot, headquarters of Humla, at about 3,000 meters above sea level.
English आउँदैन
ओके ओके यस यस भन्दिनु न
ओके यस त्यति मात्रै आइरहेको अरू त लागि सामान बोक्ने सामान लिने अब के गरौँ त खेती छैन जमी जग्गा छैन हामी ओडारी डोडारी यहाँबाट डोलान बसियो तपाईँ घर व्यवहार केही पनि छैन बाबु अब के गरौँ त त्यस्तै गरी नखाइ नहुने बालबच्चा पाल्नै पऱ्यो आफूले खानै पऱ्यो होइन अब के गरौँ त खाना त हो अन्त खानै त पऱ्यो त
Lower Humla is significantly different from the upper parts like Limi Valley, both culturally and geographically. Villages in and around Simikot are predominantly made up of Khas people.
खिची लैजिने छिया क्यामेरा हात नै लासाकोरी घाँस खाँदैन बसेरी सात नै
ताली ताली ताली
नि हेर तेरो यही थला यहाँ पुराना मैला आया भन्दा हाँसले लो त गोद्दा फुललाई दावा को भिडियो कल गर्दा बाटोमा मैला म त गाडी लाग्यो छ पराचेत यहाँ यहाँ गर्दै के त हम बंगे मास्टर देख्यो हैछ देख होत नै हो र कोही त दादा मुनि दादा आयो के त उंगुर किनी ल्या खानुस् खानुस् आन्टी भन्यो
Religiously, the region practices a syncretic form of Hinduism heavily intertwined with ancient shamanism, the Dhami Jhakri tradition. And on our very last day of the trip, destiny would guide us to a village where we would get to see this dying tradition firsthand. But first, we left Simikot towards the village of Dharapori in our quest to reach Limi. We expected to reach Limi in about a week, but on our second day, we somehow ended up on the back of a truck and reached the northern tip of the valley in Chagzur. We had ended up walking a trail through forests that had no shelter for 2 days, and there were bears in the forest. So the driver decided to give us a ride, and we suddenly found ourselves in Limi already. The open highlands of the valley, even at 5,000 meters, turn green for a few months every year as the monsoon rains sweep across Nepal. Herders from lower villages begin their annual upward pilgrimage. They leave the valley behind and drive their herds of Chauri Gai, the resilient hybrid of local cattle and Tibetan yaks, high into alpine pastures. The shepherds live in tents, tending their herds, churning rich chauri milk into butter and deliciously refreshing moi, or buttermilk.
मिठो छ
कतै चरा दिली गयो अनि गाडीमा बिली अनि बाइक हो यस्तो लाग्यो
चल्ने
हो यही नै सारा
ए दामी भेडा पनि छ
Like the disappearing villages of Limi, these solitary figures are keeping one of the world's last nomadic transhumance lifestyles alive, but one that is fading with every passing generation. Nearby, there are hot springs scattered near the banks of the Limi River. For centuries, locals and travelers along the ancient salt trade route have used these mineral-rich waters to heal aching joints, muscle fatigue, and skin ailments. Simple stone bathing pools have been fashioned directly at the source. At this time of the year, the lush mountains are full of life, from Himalayan marmots to wild yaks grazing the abundant grass. From Chagzur, a few hours' walk away, is Tashi Thang, as you head south from the tip of the valley. Tashi Thang used to be only a campsite until just a few years ago. With the new roads running through the valley, trucks often appear out of nowhere. And we hitchhiked on the only one that was passing by that day. The truck just so happened to belong to the ward chairman of Limi, and we ended up staying at his house that night at the village of Halji. Sitting at an elevation of 3,700 meters, Halji is the largest of the three main settlements in the valley.
यसो नि हो यो भित्र हाल्यो चाबी लगायो हैन यो यस्तो तानेपछि यो यस्तो तानेर चाबी खुल्यो यो भित्रबाट चाबी
It is also home to one of the most significant Buddhist monasteries in all of the northern belt of Nepal, housing rare statues, murals, and ancient religious texts. The Rinchen Monastery is a 1,000-year-old sanctuary founded in the 11th century by the legendary translator Rinchen Zangpo, who studied near Mount Kailash. Born in Western Tibet, Rinchen Zangpo spent a significant portion of his life traveling throughout the Trans-Himalayan belt, including in Kashmir in India and the Puran kingdoms surrounding Mount Kailash and Lake Mansarovar. He is credited with translating over 200 Indian Buddhist texts from Sanskrit into Tibetan. According to local tradition and historical folklore, Halji Gumba is believed to be the 108th and final monastery built by Rinchen Zangpo. The architectural style, 11th century murals, and central four-faced Vairocana statue inside the Gumba match the exact Ladakh-influenced style of Rinchen Zangpo's works, like those in Spiti Valley, nearby in India.
तपाईको लिमी भन्न बित्तिकै अलिकति पहिला त छुटै खालको जस्तो पनि भन्दो रहेछ। अब लिमी भने कसैले त्यति चिनेको पनि छैन रहेछ। किन भन्दाखेरि यति दुर्गम विकट, पहिले त यो रोड पनि जोडिएन थियो, तर अहिले त बल्ल बल्ल यहाँ रोड जोडिएको छ, अनि टावर सबै आएर बल्ल बल्ल अनि परिचय हुँदैछ। अनि भइसकेपछि यो गुम्बा बनेको तपाईँको यो हल्जी गुम्बा मात्र होइन, मेन बनेको हल्जी गुम्बा हो, पुरानो सबभन्दा 11 शताब्दीको। अनि त्यसपछि यो सेम गुम्बा जाङमा पनि छ, अनि एउटा तिलमा पनि छ। अनि गुम्बा यति ऐतिहासिक पहिले पुरानो यस्तो छ भनेर कसैको ज्ञान पनि छैन, कसै थाहा पनि छैन। जब यो रोड जोड्न बित्तिकै अनि यहाँ आउजाउ बढी नै भयो। जब तपाईँको टुरिस्टहरू पनि धेरै नै आउने थाल्यो, फेरि त्यो आइसकेपछि यो ऐतिहासिक कतिको रहेछ, कतिको पुरानो रहेछ, बल्ल बल्ल अनि थाहा भएको। अनि यो वर्ष त झन् गोरा वर्ष भए पनि होला, तर यति आयो कि यहाँ दर्शन गर्ने, गुम्बा दर्शन गर्ने धेरै पुग्यो। तर मेन सुरुमा यहाँ गाउँमा यो गुम्बा दर्शन गरेर त्यसपछि थुङलिङसम्म जान्छ, थुङलिङ बस्छ, भोलिपल्ट माथि लाप्चा दर्शन गरेर अनि फर्काउँछ। गोरा वर्ष भनेको विशेष गरी यो कैलाश मान्छेहरू दर्शन गर्ने विशेष यो 12 वर्ष के अरे भित्र 1 वर्ष हुन्छ कि गोरा वर्ष भनेको।
While most schools in Limi have closed due to lack of students, there is one still in Halji. Most of the parents of the children who study here live and work across the Chinese border. And as people move out of these villages, their houses are literally being abandoned. A few hours from Halji, we went to meet the last 2 residents of the village in Jhang. This isolated valley, blessed by nature and its unique culture and age-old communities, are now right on the brink of extinction. Everyone has left the village either to work in China or to the capital capital in Kathmandu.
यो गाउँ चाहिँ लिटरली अब्यान्डन नै छ एउटा त्यो घरमा एउटा मान्छे रहेछ
Even the centuries-old monastery here has been emptied of its artifacts, which have been moved to a monastery in Kathmandu.
यसो पिठो डल्लो पारेर नि खानुहुन्छ हैन
त्यो खान्छ टिमुक
टिमुक भन्छ
त्यो पनि खान्छ
त्यो उवाको
होइन त्यो मैदाको
मैदाको
त्यो खानुहुन्छ त्यो खान्छ भने बनाइदिने त्यो बनाउन आउँछ हामीलाई अब सबैले त्यो बनाऊ हुन्छ र
हुन्छ
तर यो सिमानमा चाहिँ टाढोबाट दर्शन गरेर फोटो खिचेर आउन पाउँछ आफै ठाउँ हो नि नेपाल त्यही जान पाउँदैन चाइनिजले दिँदैन हामीले चाहिँ विशल हुनु पर्यो कोठा भाडा कति छ दिनको 100 सुकुर हो 2000 भन्दा बढी दिनको केही व्यापार छैन थियो म यो पालि जाँदैन अब पछिल्लो पालि जाने हो अब 2 चोटि खोल्छ त्यो लाग्छ कहाँ गाह्रो छ हामी पनि अब त्यो नाम पालिकामा दिनु पर्यो नामकामा
The last residents reflect on how much the movement across the border has changed in recent decades.
अब बोली यो जुदा खाना अर्को जुदा लाऊ है आउँदैन मलाई बचाउन आउँदैन यो हातबाट फर्केर चाहिँ जित फर्काउनु पर्छ नि मेरो छोरा लाउँछ मैले आउँदैन खालि मैले बच्चा खेल्ने मात्रै तपाईँको बजार ठुलो बजार नानी आयो भोजन
The next day, we hiked 20 kilometers across the valley to the most isolated of the 3 villages of Limi. This Chinese truck had apparently crashed into the river just a few weeks back. Walked all the way to the basin of Nepal's longest river and crossed the Karnali, which originates in Kailash and mixes with the great Ganges River. Then we hiked towards the glaciers under which the almost mythical village of Til exists. Til is an ancient, highly isolated Tibetan Buddhist settlement, situated at an altitude of 4,100 meters. It features traditional stone houses surrounded by barley fields. The village has faced significant environmental and socio-economic hardships in recent years. Just last year, one of the two glacial lakes just above the village burst and flooded the village, wiping out limited cultivable land and cracking the walls of some of the old stone houses. The day we reached, little Dorji jumped into Smiti's arms as if he had always known her.
Dorji बनाऊँ न त Wow! Wow! Apa sudah balik?
There are no hotels in any of the villages of Limi, and here in Til, we stayed at this house, and they let us sleep in the room that housed their altar. They even had the most interesting toilet we have ever seen inside the house.
यसको अब छाउ चाहिँ बनाएर फेरि त्यहाँ गाई गोरुलाई दिनुहोस् के हिउँ त
Has bhai. Has bhai.
माथि के माथि चाहिँ माथि नै है माथि माथि त भेटेन यही त्यो जन्जाहरू भेटेछ अनि ढुङ्गुचीको त्यो बस्नेको ठाउँ पनि यो ढुङ्गाको बनेको त्यही भेटेर आउँछ
The day we traveled from Til to the border town of Hilsa was one of the most challenging days of walking in any of our trips to the mountains.
यो रहेछ नि त वाइल्ड कर्नाली केही नभए
अब हामी तिमीलाई होला
त्यो टुरिङ चेन्ज भइरहेछ हेर न
after 15 hours and 30 kilometers, we finally reached Hilsa and made our way out of Limi Valley. Hilsa is the furthest border mountain village in the northwestern tip of Nepal, sitting at an altitude of 2,910 meters on the banks of the Karnali. It is directly adjacent to the Burang region of Tibet and is also the endpoint of the Great Himalaya Trail.
नयाँ यो त पुरानो हो नि
हजुर
नयाँ बाजे त नयाँ यसो त लामो यसो छ एक बेरको
हजुर
10,000
हेरी
अनि घर तपाईहरुको घरहरु यतिकै छ
त्यतिकै केही ढोका बन्द गरेर केही छैन सामान केही छैन खाली घर मात्र खाली
ऊ जानुहुन्न गुम्बाहरु
गुम्बा सबै सामान छैन त गुम्बा सबै सामान काठमाडौँतिर सारे
गुम्बाको पनि ए यहाँ अनि यहाँ चाहिँ किन आउनु भयो सुरुमा 22 वर्ष अगाडि
यहाँ थोरै अलि हाम्रो गाउँमा त यहाँ अलि होटल चलाउँछ यहाँ व्यवहार दिन थोरै हुन्छ यहाँ नागा भयो अरे अब त्यो पनि बन्द गर्छ त्यो बन्द गरेर 10-12 दिन भयो
ए यता चाइनाबाट यता आउने सामान
चाइना आफै बन्द गर्यो सबै ठाउँतिर हो भन्छ खै त्यो रसुवातिर तल तातपनीतिर पहिले म 18, 19, 20, 21 वर्ष हुने बेलामा केही चाहिँदैन त्यसपछि अब नृत्य मात्रै चाहिन्छ त्यसपछि हामी यो सीमा पास चाहिँदो रहेछ सीमा पास भनेर त्यो सीमा पास यो नगरे छिन्न यो हुम्ला मात्रै हो अरू नेपाली मान्छे कोही पाउँदैन नेपालहरू चाहिँ नदी तालाकोट भने बजारमा 1500 जति होला मान्छे
नेपालीहरु काम
गर्ने व्यवहार गर्ने कोही केटीहरू रेस्टुरेन्टमा काम गर्ने होटलमा काम गर्ने कुनै कुलीको काम गर्ने कुनै व्यवहार गर्ने मान्छे थुप्रै हुन्छ छ छोराछोरी काठमाडौँ छ जेठी छोरी चाहिँ अर्को बिहामा गयो काठमाडौँ हाम्रो भोटियासँग र छोरा दुईटा छोरा छ छोरा चाहिँ काठमाडौँ छ आजभोलि माइलो र जेठी छोरी चाहिँ केन्जी छोरी चाहिँ यो अमेरिका छ यो अस्ट्रेलिया छ छोरीहरू भेडाहरू पालेपछि काम छ त्यहाँ छोराछोरी सबै तल स्कुल पढ्यो होइन त्यहाँ स्कुलबाट बानी बिग्रेर गाउँतिर आउँदैन तलै बन्छ तलै अब विदेश बन्छ त्यो कहीँ मोटरसाइकलतिर गाई घुम्छ केही काम छैन त्यो सानो काम गर्दैन ठुलो काम पाउँदैन
As Nepali citizens, we had two options of heading back to Simikot. Either hire a vehicle for over 30,000 rupees and reach there in a day, or pay 3,000 rupees each for a 20-minute helicopter ride. It is on one of the hills surrounding Simikot where Chakka Bahadur Lama, one of the last shamans of Humla, lives. We were invited to the village of Bhrause to witness the ritual of the ancient art of the Dhami Jhakri, which is also facing its own quiet, inevitable extinction. Yet, on the 20th day of every month, the residents of Bhrause refuse to let the old ways slip away. Responsibility for the ritual rotates household by household, keeping a fragile community pact alive. They make their way to the roots of an ancient walnut tree. Shaman, priest, and the accompanying drummers invoke gods from the surrounding mountains. The spirit of Mahakala, a protector deity in both Hinduism and Buddhism, has shown his presence. The shaman then communicates with the spirit of the god.
अनि तपाईको सपनामा अथवा के हो त काठमाडौँ पुग्यो त तपाईँ आनन्द पुग्छ तपाईँ पुग्दैखेरि याद गर्नु यो देउताको सपना आउँछ कि आउँदैन त्यतिखेर याद गर्नु होइन त्यो सपनामा पनि आउने छ यो बराबर जाँदाखेरि होइन दर्शन
The entire village has gathered by the end of the day, and they dance and celebrate into the night.
यस्तो छोराछोरी यस्तो जोडी त धेरै मिलेछ आमा यस्तो बुढी गर्न फोटो नखिचाऊ
Smriti wanted to buy a piece of jewelry worn traditionally by women here called Beraute. On our way back, we came across a fabric store where the women saw her and dressed her in their traditional attire.
तुम्ही बेवली झिली कै
दामी आएछ बहिनीको ताउ कति
मान्छे रम्ने अनि तागै राम्रो
Humla is a must-visit destination as it offers one of the last remaining windows into completely untamed Himalayan wilderness and pure ancient Tibetan and Khas cultures, entirely untouched by modernization until now. While reaching this hidden corner of northwestern Nepal demands navigating extreme logistical and physical challenges, the sheer reward of raw landscapes and profound spiritual solitude makes it an unmatched, life-changing journey.